The first question, and you'll have 2 minutes for this, is what is your vision and objective in running for the board?
My vision for Pally is pretty much what I've seen in the charter. That was one of the reasons that I chose this school as an independent charter. I thought that the fact that it could operate somewhat in a different capacity than LAUSD was a very encouraging and promising thing. I think that this school has a lot of potential that hasn't been reached yet. In the almost 10 years that I've been here, I've gotten to work with many of you, have various conversations, and I do believe we have an unbelievable staff up here. Yes, there's been a little bit of change, but for the most part, we've had people here for a long time. I was doing some number calculations, and I think well over half of our staff has been here for 5 years. There's over 20 people who've been here for 20 plus years. So, I think that's incredible. So when I started out, I knew about the board, but I didn't become involved. I didn't start attending board meetings until pretty much for the past year. But as I spend time there, again, I see that the school has a lot of potential that we haven't fully met yet. And what I look to do is see how we can create win-win situations for everyone who's a stakeholder here. So not just the people in this room, the students, the parents, the administration, we all have to work together, and I believe we all can function very successfully and take this school to places much greater than where they're at right now.
You want me to repeat the question?
Go ahead.
The question once again, what is your vision and objective in running for the board?
Well, my objective for running for the board is that I think that as a faculty member, especially in light of what's been going on the last couple of years, I think that we need a stronger voice on the board. There's a lot of dissension right now coming from faculty, whether or not that's officially, unofficially, that disturbs me. I came in here as a ninth grader in '93, which is an important date for us as a charter. Class of '97, graduate. And I've worked here basically since 2003, 2004, either as a long-term sub or a student teacher, now as a full-time faculty member. I couldn't imagine that this place would be, that the morale could be so low as it is right now. And I think that's due in part to faculty not being represented in an adequate fashion. Nothing against the previous faculty members that have been on the board, but I think that we need to be aware of the climate right now of the school. And to Mike's point here, it's not going to be win-win all the way. We need somebody here who's going to represent us as faculty that has not only a capacity for collaboration, but has the ability to endure and a capacity for conflict as well, for fighting for us. That's why I'm here.
Okay. Do you want me to repeat the question?
No, I think we got this. Speaking for myself, me, myself, and I guess. Good afternoon. Thanks for coming here. My vision for Pally has always been one more of like a technological kind of future. I've always been fascinated with the computer, so I definitely have had a vision of this place being a cutting-edge, technologically savvy campus with savvy instructors that know and fully appreciate how to use technology in the classroom. But technology is a waste if you cannot have meaningful dialogue. It is a tool, and it's a very effective tool. It's a very powerful tool. But what's an even more a powerful tool is the notion of collaboration and community. And I do feel that some of the conversations that I've had with faculty has demonstrated that we are struggling and we are grappling in some ways to collaborate. I think we've taken shelter amongst our own individual departments to kind of collaborate and kind of protect ourselves within our own smaller communities, but we've lost a little bit of that ability to reach out and collaborate with other departments to work together, I think, in some of these larger goals where we're trying to develop cross-subject curricula. So I would like to see that, and I also, as far as the board's concerned, I would like to see more of your opinions, your ideas, your thoughts represented in the faculty meeting, in the board meetings. And as your representative, I would like to communicate your ideas. I would like to know what your thoughts are, and I would like you to feel like your voice is heard when conversations happen on the board.
Yes.
Yeah, what is your vision and objective in running for the board?
Okay. So I'm Amanda Campbell. I know some of you I don't see that often, so I just wanted to reiterate who I am. I've been here for 2 years, and I really love Pali. I came from teaching at a school that I didn't have such a great experience at, and so coming to Pali was a positive, a huge positive, and after being at the other school and wanting to quit teaching, once I came here, I loved it again. You know, this is why I'm teaching. That's how I felt. So I just want to let you know that is my impression of Pali continually, regardless of, you know, the issues that we are facing. I think also that this place can be better than it is now. The morale can be higher. We can have a more positive attitude towards each other, towards the board, towards admin, towards, you know, everything that we do here. So I think one of the things that is part of my vision for being on the board is to definitely improve communication. I know there have been talks about streaming the meetings, live streaming the meetings, so I think that would be one thing that I would try to work with tech to institute, because I know a lot of people would like to be here but can't, and sometimes audio recording maybe just isn't what everyone wants. So that's one thing. And then the other thing is to promote unity amongst the board and staff, because as my colleagues here have mentioned, there is a lot of disagreement and tension, but I do think that I'm willing to live in that tension and provide sort of a bridge as your representative on the board. Thank you.
Okay, the next question. The next question is a little bit longer, and this is from the committee. So in making important decisions that impact the whole Pali community, how do you think the board should learn the views of each different stakeholder group, and what impact should those views have on the decisions the board makes? Sorry. Yeah, so basically, in making important decisions that impact the whole Pali community, how do you think the board should learn the views of each different stakeholder group, and what impact should those views have on the decisions the board makes? So Amanda, you go.
Either 1 minute response.
Okay. So how should they learn their perspectives, and then what impact should those perspectives have?
Yes.
Okay. So I think that, you know, we already have public speaking time in the beginning. I'm not sure that the rules of the public speaking time are very clear to, at least for parents. I know there's a lot of frustration in them not being able to speak out enough in the meetings or have a dialogue. You know, they're allowed to say their piece, but there's no dialogue. That's not the format of the meeting. So I think having some other arena to do that, possibly a parent meeting with a board representative on some sort of maybe bi-monthly basis would be helpful for the parents to feel like their voices are heard. I know that surveys do help, so parents feel like that is an effective way, but I think asking parents, how do you want us to communicate to you? Asking staff, how do you want us to communicate to you? Because sometimes I know for us, or for me at least, every email, you know, just getting more and more emails doesn't exactly solve problems sometimes. So I think that you need to have dialogue. You need to have conversations with people.
Oh, okay.
As far as communication, thank you. As far as the communication and gathering stakeholder input, we already have mechanisms in place. I think what we might want to do is look at the efficacy of those mediums and just decide what percentage of a response are we getting? What kind of response are we getting from each of these stakeholder groups? Is it better to reach parents by email? Is it better to do a combination of email and mailing? Is it, you know, like as was suggested, to have the board meeting streaming and then maybe make some kind of comment section available so that people could not only watch the board meetings, but also maybe include a comment or include some kind of social media component to it. I think that the stakeholder input is key, because I think a lot of the tensions that we've experienced has been from a lack of stakeholder input. And I think that the more input that we have, we'll make better decisions as a board.
Well, I'm here to represent the faculty. I understand that all stakeholders are important, and each of them have an elected person to represent their views. I'm interested in knowing what the faculty wants and how to further our desire on the board. According to the Brown Act, we need to post things in a timely manner. I think an improvement would be for us to have a description of what has gone on in the meetings, more detail in a timely fashion. Then at least we would have the entire community understand what the issues are specifically, to then gather the information. But right now, I feel that stakeholders in general are largely uninformed or basically given information that isn't entirely accurate. And one of the things we can improve on is making sure that that information is disseminated in a timely fashion, in detail, for everybody to understand.
So I think the way the board collects information now is fine, but absolutely it's really the percent of people who respond to it that needs to be recognized. If 5 parents respond to something and they're all unanimous, okay, great. So 5 people responded, that really doesn't tell us enough. And in terms of what the board should be doing with this information, I really think that all of us have to look at the scenario here is who's our client? Who are we here for? I don't think we're here for the board. I don't think we're here for the administration. I think we're here for the students. And the most direct link that the students have is with the teachers. Now, classified staff help out a lot. The board and the administration can assist in things. But I think that's always got to be the primary thing is how is this going to benefit the students?
I think we have those. Are we going to do those? Does anyone else have any questions? That was the last one. We have those in your hand. Reading. All right, so we are randomly going to take your questions. I'll just pick one out of his hand.
And if anyone else has more questions to write down, you can bring them up here.
On the yellow card.
Okay.
It's a little different. There's a couple of colorblind people here. I'm going to represent you guys. Mr. Ray. All right, randomly. And Vejas, we'll start with you. All right, but you all answer this. You still have a minute. What do you believe are the expectations that the faculty has of you as a board member?
Well, from what I have gathered, speaking to many of you, we need to have somebody that's going to get in there and fight, and stand up for us, to make sure that we're not trampled, that our interests are being followed. You need to have a strong voice there that is not going to kowtow, bow down, be run over by all the other stakeholder groups. We are important here. Referring to the previous question Mike has answered, just like anything else, we can't take care of our students properly unless we are taking care of ourselves. And if our issues aren't addressed, how are we supposed to function here at this school? Our jobs are hard enough. My job here is to make sure that we are represented with the strongest voice possible. In these trying times, an unconventional candidate like myself is exactly what we need. We need somebody who's going to get up there and fight for you, and that's me.
So I think that the faculty expect, I would imagine you'd expect your interests to be represented well. And by well, I think you want your issues and your concerns to be represented clearly. I think you want to know what's going on with the direction of the school. I think you want time to think about what's going on. You want to have some kind of dialogue, either a departmental dialogue or some kind of friendly dialogue amongst yourselves. But when it comes down to it, yes, we are running for the faculty position. So we are here to stand up for your rights. We are here to represent you, but also to figure out how we're going to work best together as a school. And I think that there has to be a balanced approach between holding people accountable within ourselves on the board and also holding ourselves accountable as faculty to function in the most optimal way for our school.
So I think that you want someone who's honest, someone who is transparent, someone who you're comfortable talking to and bringing your issues to, someone who's not going to judge you and has no bias about you. I think I bring a very fresh perspective. I would bring a fresh perspective to the board if elected. I don't have, for lack of a better term, any baggage from past experiences here, which, I do, inform myself of the history and goings-on of what's happened in the past, because that's very important. The history of Pali is very important for the future of Pali. But in the same sense, I think that I do bring resilience, persistence. I don't have an agenda, and I believe I have sound judgment and ethical and strong ethics. So I think that those qualities are at least part of what the faculty is looking for.
All right. So I would think that we don't want another yes person up there, somebody who just goes along with everything. To play devil's advocate in a way that brings up different factors to consider, different ramifications that might come across when change is made. These are all very important items that have to exist to decide if something really makes sense to go forward with. I would think that we want a person who's well informed of what's going into the decision, as well as all the side spin-off effects. That the decision is made logically, that it has a purpose, and the bottom line is that it follows the charter that we have in place here.
Okay, the next randomly chosen question from the audience. How will the board hold those who oversee our finances accountable for any and all errors that affect the budget and payroll? We'll go with Alex first. So again, how will the board hold those who oversee our finances accountable for any and all errors that affect the budget and payroll?
I think you should have asked me how to solve world peace first. But, whew, yeah, that is a big one. So, I'm not a chief financial officer, and I don't have a degree in accounting, but I do know how to read English. And I think as a faculty board member, it'd be incumbent on me to read a lot more documents than I'm used to reading in my email. And I think that what's nice about the board is it is a combination of people with different talents and different backgrounds. I know that there are a lot of parents who also contribute from these kinds of different backgrounds. So I would read intensely all these different documents. I would bring up issues that seem sketchy or I don't understand to the faculty and ask for their counsel as well to find out if they're seeing something different than what I see. But I would analyze everything very carefully.
So how will the board hold those who oversee our finances accountable for any and all errors that affect the budget and payroll?
So I'm actually on the budget committee currently. I started on there in January, and at first it was kind of like, everything was going over my head because I also am not an accounting major. I don't have a financial background, but the more questions I asked, the more I had to repetitively read through the documents that we're looking at and just sort of gleaned from other people in the committee. I understood what's going on, what's happened in the past, where do we want to go with this. So I think the budget committee is a key part of the board's decisions of how to address these issues. And we did talk about the payroll issue and ask the question, how did this happen? And people that aren't here now, that don't work here, it seems that certain problems came from when they were here. So it's a bit of investigation, but I definitely strongly believe that you need someone persistent to keep asking those questions and not just let it be yesterday's news and, all right, we kind of forget about it now that it's blown over. It's a legitimate issue that needs to be investigated.
Thank you.
Okay, well, in terms of this, I would think, Amanda was alluding to it as well, is following the paper trail. What got us to this financial situation, and backtrack our way through it and figure out where were mistakes or errors, what do we want to double them as, where did they occur? So I also think along with that, as we backtrack, the people who were in it and made mistakes, they have to be held accountable. If there's no accountability, I just don't understand what the point would be of having certain people have the positions and the responsibilities that they do here if they can't be held accountable for them. I think that also that anything that happens, what the board wants to do is not only fix it as it exists, but also figure out how to avoid this from reoccurring.
Okay, well, it's my understanding here that the board, beyond just furthering the vision of the school, in part through our mission statement, we're supposed to provide fiduciary oversight. Now, I've heard a lot from non-faculty members that that we're not supposed to be involved in day-to-day operations. I will remind you, faculty members, that it's in the charter that we are to evaluate administration and management ourselves, at least part of the board. Now, messing with taxes, that's a big no-no. That's not right. Now, I don't think that anybody received their envelope and smiled and thought that was great. Most of us file our taxes in a timely fashion. And while that seems like a minor inconvenience, that's not right. Mike's point, yes, accountability needs to be, we need to hold people accountable for that. That's not right. Amanda, I know you mentioned that that this happened with people that were here before that are no longer here. We can't keep kicking the can down the road when it comes down to stuff. This is constantly repeated.
Thank you. We have about 3 more questions. And Amanda, this will go to you and then work its way down. What can you do for the teachers so they can get some power back in the process of running our school?
Like I said before, I can give you those new ideas, those fresh ideas. I can listen to you and bring your ideas to the board. Stand up for what you want. I'm not up here to represent myself. I'm up here to not only represent all stakeholders, but the faculty mainly. So I think you want to be heard and you want to see certain changes actually in effect, not just as an idea floating up in the air, but you want to see certain changes actually take place. And I feel that I have the drive to make that happen.
Can we repeat it?
No, it's okay. So one of the things that I had thought about in terms of like what I wanted to see as a faculty member is to hear about what's going on in the board, but more as a summary. I find that sometimes when you're overwhelmed with lots of information, it's very difficult to know what's important to focus on, and that's a big challenge just in checking your email here on campus to try to figure out what's important to focus on. So I would like to have some kind of forum where I'm able to talk to the faculty, like in the faculty senate meetings, and just kind of give you my take on what happened at the last faculty or at the last board meeting, so that we can at least start talking about the most important points that were discussed at that meeting. And I think opening that communication will help a lot of mystery kind of become demystified.
Yeah, what can you do for the teachers so they can get some power back in the process of running our school?
Well, number one, by being elected, that's a good first step. You know that you'll have a strong candidate that won't take no for an answer when it comes down to what we want. There's certain committees in the past that have been disbanded that really represented a loss of our power. We ought to look into that. Mike's doing the faculty senate. I think it's a great idea. If I'm elected and you're not, I mean, we have to work together. There's plenty of working together that needs to happen. However, faculty interest is where it's at. We must become stronger here on this campus. And that means you have to have a guy up here that's going to weather the storm, including all the icy death stares I'm getting right now. I don't care. That's fine. But we are faculty members. And without us, there's a misconception that somehow a school runs itself. You need happy, motivated teachers that feel empowered to do the right thing.
Get involved. We have a lot of ways that people can be involved here. We are an independent charter. We're not part of LAUSD. So there's countless things here that anybody can go to. You don't have to be a member of a committee to go to most committee meetings. The board even has public comment sessions. Being a department chair is one way to get more involved in your department, but it's not the only way. Attending various meetings that go on, whether they are PD related or whether they involve students. Again, we have plenty of meetings every week. Getting your suggestions out there. Anybody can basically express an idea and pass it along through the proper channels. There's also suggestions that we could make from the faculty in terms of what somebody believes is a good PD topic. And you can get involved and directly help out with that. So you should believe that change can and it will happen here.
Okay, one of our last questions, unless other people have cards with questions on it. Have you attended a board meeting in the last year? If not, why not? So have you attended a board meeting in the last year? If not, why not?
Okay. Following your lead. Okay. So, yes, I have attended a board meeting in the last year. And so I don't know. It sounds like kind of a strange question in a way because it's like a yes or no.
I would actually want to add, what
please.
did you learn if you did attend? That's what I was thinking, but Chris told me not to, so.
I don't want to put any additional words into the mouth of my colleagues.
Understood. Well, I mean, I think it's important to actually go to a meeting to see how it works. In the first, in the opening session, anybody who wants to come to the board meeting gets 2 minutes to talk about whatever issue that they want to bring onto the table. But it's my understanding that it may not be addressed fully in that particular moment. You can bring in an issue to the attention of the board, but it really has to go to the agenda committee in order to become part of the actual meeting focus. So if there are things like that, yes, you can speak at the board meeting, but don't expect it to actually be discussed to the detail that you may want until a subsequent meeting, because it does have to be put on the agenda official.
I've not been in last year. However, last board meeting I went to a couple of years ago, I brought up a fabulous exchange program that we had in place. The State Department is offering scholarships through a vetted program for students to come out, be here for a year. Community service is a component of that. Now, sounds great, and there's some support on the board when I made my presentation. However, I was told, hey, let's try to write that into the charter last summer, which was extremely difficult. I kind of felt the goalposts were being pushed forward, and I was disillusioned. But rather than giving up entirely, I figured this would be my best opportunity to reboot my experience with the board now from the inside versus the outside looking in.
So I've been to one board meeting until the one we had right the last day of the fall semester, the special board meeting that was called for Mike Vogel regarding the situation with the baseball team. Since that, with the exception of this past Friday's special board meeting, I've been to every board meeting. It's a very interesting process, very different than other committees. And one of the biggest things actually that I learned is not only can you make a public comment at the beginning, you can make a public comment on each item that is being discussed there. So that means that the board can directly hear your opinion on things, and every single one of us has an opportunity to speak. And unfortunately, I have found very few people from this faculty going to it. If anything, I found more parents showing up recently than faculty members. Now, I know it's very hard. I've made a lot of personal sacrifices to be there myself, but I do believe you can also submit statements that somebody else can read on your behalf. So again, expressing your opinions, getting involved, the opportunity is there for you, and absolutely you're encouraged to do so.
The last board meeting I went to was this last Friday, the special board meeting that was called mainly to discuss payroll, but there's also a very big discussion about the Da Vinci grant and a lot of misconceptions that parents had, So I agree, it's a very important, I think it's an important meeting to attend as part of this community. As a stakeholder, I think it's important for us to at least attend one here or there if we can. My first year here, which was last year, within the first couple months of working here, I made it a point to attend a board meeting because this is the first time I've been in a school that had a board. I want to see what's going on. And it was sort of disappointing to see that there weren't very many other faculty members there or very many people at all. And I found that kind of strange. But now I know that that's sort of the norm, which is not a bad thing because we all have busy schedules. So I think it's just important outside of those meetings to make sure that everyone has the information that they need because we're not all able to be there.
Thank you, and that concludes from the questions from you. Do you want to write it down, Alex, or?
No, I have a question just occurring to me to ask
All faculty, every candidate here will have the opportunity to answer the question.
It's not about the issue, it's about the situation about the status of the school. Is she a permanent teacher or is she a probationary teacher? Because as a probationary teacher, she cannot really represent the faculty because she's in.
Well, I think
Has that been finished?
if you have a question for all the candidates, or you can,
This is an important issue.
Contact the election.
you can, I've been told by the election committee that you can contact the election committee, but if you have a question, these are for all the candidates.
I don't see any problem with this question because we are making a choice of the person who will run for the board. That's what I wanted to hear. That's what I wanted to hear.
Okay. The last question is for 30 seconds. And I will pose it to whoever would like to answer first. Is there anything else you'd like your voters to know about you? And this is a 30 seconds. Well, maybe let's work our way down.
Okay, so yes, to answer the question, I am Probe 2 and I will be tenured the first day of the next school year. So hopefully that can ease any worries about that. I don't think I would be running for the board if that wasn't the case. I am not here to be a puppet for anyone, as some people have raised their concern. I am not here to be swayed by administration or any other influence that may take away from me representing you effectively. So I'm here to represent you confidently and to stand up for the, okay.
Sorry.
I guess the thing that I want you to know is that when I make decisions, I listen to all sides. I think about things, I try to imagine how things will play out, and I ask for information when I don't know. And I'd really like to hear what your thoughts are if I'm elected as your representative. Thank you.
In closing here, being a member of the special ed department, I collaborate a lot with all of you. I do my best to be professional, make sure that student needs are met, but most importantly, that your concerns are heard as well. And I've done my best to be that in terms of a good colleague. That said, I don't necessarily think coming in on a collaboration ticket is going to really affect any sort of change. People have to understand that this is, we are in the midst of a conflict right now. If we start off tough and end up collaborating, that's a good goal. That's where I'm at.
Since I've been here, I've been involved in athletics, obviously teaching in the classroom, been part of various committees here, but essentially every moment that I'm on this campus and I'm walking around, my eyes are open, my ears are active, I'm looking, I'm listening, and if I see something that seems a little bit off or just raises a question in my mind, I carry it on further. I will consult with other people. I'll bring it to somebody's attention, and that's something that we should all be doing here, because there's no way any one of us can see everything.
Okay, thank you very much. I want to give everyone a big round of applause, and thank you.